Guys, you can buy 5 of them for $1. Okay, so open one up, take 5, fold the dollar up, put it inside the thing. Now, guys, you're very distracted. And Joe, you turned right, turn this way, sit this way, face this way. We are at a critical moment. Don't look there, look here. We are at an unbelievably critical moment. Because if you fast forward 24 hours, you are dealing with a test that I do not think you're going to have time to get a relearn packet done for. The grade you get on the test, more than likely, will be the grade you get. And if you don't do well on this one, it could really harm your averages for the market period. For those of you who like high averages, you might end up with a disappointing average. Some of you could end up failing for the market period because of this. And right now, you're all very distracted. So you have to find a way to get your focus, Chris, head in the game, so that you're learning from the mistakes that you're making and that you don't repeat those mistakes. Now, what I would like to do first, before I do anything else, is I would like to go over all of the word problems on the test. The solve for, God bless, and then also all the word problems. Then I will give you the answers to the other questions of the test and ask if there's any of those you want me to go over, and then we'll give you some time during the period to work on today's pretest. You would have had a total of 3 pretests for this test. There is no excuse about being prepared or not being prepared for this particular test. And I'm rooting for you big time. I was listening to, who was I listening to? I was listening to, believe it or not, a conversation with Bruce Springsteen. He was being interviewed, and he's a rock singer. And they said to him, don't you get bored of giving concerts? Don't you get bored? He had played 18 straight months on the road in concerts. And what he talked about is, he said, you know what? He said, you have to learn to live in the moment. He said, yeah, you know, you do 300 concerts in 18 months, and there's a tendency to say to yourself, oh man, on this particular night, I really don't feel like doing it. Or on this particular day, I'm just not into it, I want to do something else. But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of responsibility he would talk about. He says, these people are paying hard-earned money to come watch me perform. I can't take a night off, I can't be there. And what I always come back to is the idea, now, you know, look, I'm not doing this to sound like some guilt trip person, but it's the truth. Yesterday I was in Pulaski, New York. I drove 7 hours on Friday afternoon after school. I came here and I taught on Friday. I drove 7 hours to Pulaski, New York. Got some sleep Friday night, fished all day Saturday, fished for half a day Sunday. I drove 7 hours back last night through thunderstorms, downpours upstate. It was much worse than on Long Island. Got home, got up this morning, came to work. I need to get my car, I need to get the oil changed. I'm going after school today to get that done, and I got to get a couple other things done to it. I easily had enough reasons to take today off. And if I go you one step further, the way sick time works with teachers is like this. You're allowed to save up to 180 sick days. And then you get 15 more for the year on top of it. But you can't save more than 180 days. So, in effect, I have 195 sick days saved up. And if I don't use a sick day, I lose it. I can never ever use it again. So, I have more than enough sick days to have taken off. More than enough sick days. And reasons, things I need to get done. I could have just said, oh my God, I drove 14 hours in the last 2 days. I'm exhausted, I'm wiped out, and I did have a headache this morning, my sinuses are killing me. What the heck, let me stay. But you gotta live in the moment. And if I don't stay in this moment, then if I don't help prepare you for tomorrow's test, who's gonna suffer on that test?
We are.
You are. I don't want that to happen. I wanna make sure you do the best possible on tomorrow's test. Now, if that thinking guides me and helps keep me in the moment, helps me make sure I am at my best to help you, don't you owe it to you to do that? You don't owe me anything. Don't go thinking, oh, just because Miss Lindquist does it for me, I have to do it for him. No, don't think like that at all. That's stinking thinking. You should be thinking to yourself, wait a minute. If these people are committed to me to get a better life, then I need to make sure that I'm in that moment, that I'm working it through. All right? So without any further ado, let's talk about how to get each of these word problems right on this test, and also this solve for X moment. When you see the words solve for X, what does that tell you? Get X by itself. Very good. Get it all alone. So, right now the X is not all alone. So the first thing I'm going to do, now imagine if I had an equation that looked like this. 3x plus 1 equals 10. What would I do with that equation first? What would be my first step? Davis?
Wait. Subtract 1.
Good. I would subtract 1 from both sides. Die. 9 equals 3x. Well, over here, just like the plus 1 was by itself, the addition subtraction first, I'm going to go minus 2b. Die. 3y minus 2b equals mx. Now, that looks weird. If you think that looks weird, you're right. But the cool thing is, you can't do it wrong. There's no way to make, well, almost no way to make a sloppy mistake. Like if you tell me to do 32 minus 17, I might put the wrong answer down and put 14.
That's the answer.
No, we're part of the way there. But when I do 3y minus 2b, you can't actually do that addition or subtraction. So I just write 3y minus 2b. Now, I'm solving for x, which means get x by itself. It's still not by itself. Over here, I would divide by 3. And I would get x equals 3. So over here, I'm going to divide by m. And that's my answer. 3y minus 2b over m. That's a minus. I don't know why it came back. Now, look what it says right there. How many points?
5.
5. If you can't do that, you lost 5 points on the Mars test. Now, you have 3 pretests. You have, I'm making this video, I'm going to put it up on the internet in a little while. You have one I put up on the internet the other day. If you cannot, if you are incapable of going on, if you're incapable of doing this question right now, you will lose 5 points on your test. That's a guarantee. If you go home and you watch those videos and practice the questions more and more, even if you only get it to the point where you can get half the question right, that means you're going to get 3 points of a higher score, 4 points of a higher score. And if we do this on, say, 4 or 5 questions, your score just went up 15 to 20 points. Okay, next. Probably the easiest of the word problems that that we ask you to do. And if you look, again, it's a 5-point question. So we said to you the other day that whenever you look at a word problem, you read it through once, and then you go back and you start underlining everything. 2 more than 5 times the number is 29. Find the number. Tell me something important here, something I should underline. Joey?
2 more than 5.
Times a number. Good. What else should I underline that's important? Davis?
It's 29.
Is 29. Now, anytime I solve a problem, I want to start with the easiest thing. The easiest thing in this part is the is 29. What does is 29 give me?
29.
What do I write?
Equals 29.
Equals 29. Now I got to go to 2 more than 5 times a number. So I see this phrase more than, and that's very important. With more than and less than, what always pops into my mind?
But,
It's addition. That much is true, but there's another thing. More than and less than are the only 2 that you think this with. Last shall be first,
and first shall be last.
first shall be last. So, the first shall be last, and more than is addition, plus 2. 5 times the number last shall be first. So 5n plus 2. Minus 2 to both sides. Die. 5n is 27. Divide by 5. And I get a very strange looking answer. 27 over 5, but I leave the answer like that. If you wanted to make it 5.4, you could do that. You could also make it 5 2/5. Any one of those 3 answers would be correct, okay? I'm pretty sure on tomorrow's test it works out to be a nice clean answer. There's no guarantee, but that's how we get that.
Wait, don't you make the test?
Yeah, I make the test.
And how do you not know?
Because I haven't looked at it, I made it last year.
Oh.
Right.
You make it a year before.
What I do with anything like this is, I make the test, the first time I ever make a test, and I see how the kids do. And if there's any questions that they get wrong a lot, I go back and I look at it and I ask myself, was that a fair question? And if it's not, then the next year I change it. So for instance, this test, if you notice, does this say D or double D?
Double D.
Double D. Or from the other day, yeah. Double D means that I refined it. That means I worked it over. The single D was the first year I did it.
Oh.
And the double D means there's some things I didn't like and I changed some things. Yes.
So for the first time, like when you look at the answer and they get it wrong, do they get it wrong? Like,
Yeah.
when-
Yeah, if it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm not gonna suddenly say, oh, it's right. But I do, it's not, you know how sometimes I give the quizzes and I expect you to get a question right? And you actually get it wrong? And then I expect you to get it wrong and you get it right?
Yeah.
So I have learned that I don't know it all. That I don't always understand what kids understand. And sometimes it helps to see. So if it's the first year I'm teaching a new curriculum or a new course, I give the test and I like to look at how the kids did compared to what I expected them to be able to get right. And anything that they didn't do reasonably well on, I want to look at and I want to ask myself one of two things. Is there something I did bad as a teacher? Is there a way that I didn't prep them fairly? And then, if I did prep them fairly, and if I think they did their work, and they still got it wrong, is there something in that question that needs to be changed to make it more equitable? And then I look at it. So usually I'll change one or two questions a little bit on a test when that happens. Okay, next up. And word problems is typically what drives kids the most crazy, so I want to make sure we hit these word problems. The other ones, I'll just give you the answers and ask if there's anything you want to go over with. The sum of three consecutive integers is 36. Find the largest integer. You know, when you go trout fishing, I love to trout fish. I love to fish with a fly rod. And you're going to go fishing for these trout. It's really, really important if you're going to fish a dry fly, which goes on top of the water, that you pay attention to how the fish are rising. You ever go by like a lake and you see the fish jumping?
No.
Okay. Well, sometimes they jump all the way out of the water. And sometimes the water bulges, but you don't see the fish. Or better yet, sometimes you'll see, particularly in a river, you'll see them come up and you'll see their head, then you'll see their fin in the middle of their back, and then you'll see their tail. And then sometimes all you see is the tip of their nose poked through the water. And based on how they're rising, it tells you how they're eating. If they're jumping clear out of the water, they're chasing something from the bottom. And they're swimming really fast. And they're chasing, and their momentum carries them out of the water, and you see them jump out of the water. If you see them go head, fin, tail, head, fin, tail, head, fin, tail, like a porpoise going through the water, we call that porpoising. And what that means is they're eating something just under the surface. It's not actually on the surface, it's under the surface. And it's a very different feed than if they're racing to catch the fish. And then, when they just put their nose up, that means they're taking something that's laying on the surface. And that determines what kind of fly you should use to catch them. So based on the form of the fish, that determines what you need to do as a fisherman in order to be successful, in order to catch them. Now that sort of strategy applies to this. See, there's a very, very, very important phrase in this question. 3 consecutive integers. And as soon as I read that, I need to adjust my thinking in terms of 3 consecutive integers. As soon as I read that, I always, always, always write first consecutive integer. How many times have you seen this?
A million.
Second consecutive integer, third consecutive integer. Now, I fished this hole on the Delaware River that's name is called the sipping pool. And they got the greatest trout in there because the trout sip. And what they like to do, it's just below a ripple, and there's this thing in mayflies where they lay their eggs and then they lay right on the surface and they die. And they just float on the surface and they're dead. So the trout, they just come up and they sip. And you just see, you hear them, it sounds like a kissing sound. And it's this quiet little movement, and you don't see the head fin tail, you don't see them jump out of the water, you just see these subtle little rings, and you barely see their nose step out of the water. Gotta be really careful, you would miss it. Now, as soon as I see that, I know to put a fly called a spinner onto my line. And with that spinner, I got a really good chance to catch them. If I fish a full dry fly, if I fish a nymph, if I fish a streamer, if I fish a wet fly, I'm probably not gonna catch those fish. But if I put a spinner on, and I fish it drag free, there's an excellent chance I'm gonna catch that fish. Likewise, if you write first consecutive integer, first, second, third consecutive integer, and then you let the first one be x or n, you're off to a really good start. You have picked the right way to solve this problem. Just like if I pick the spinner, I have picked the right thing to solve that problem. Now, if the first integer is x, what's the next integer? X plus 1. And the next one?
X plus 2.
Good. Now, as I look at this, another key thing I see is I see the sum, and I see is 36. What does sum mean in math? Addition. Very good. So, sum is addition, and then what about the is 36?
Equals 36.
Equals 36. So, the first one is x, there's my first integer, plus, here's my second integer, plus, here's my third integer, is 36. Now I add them all up. What's 1x plus another x?
2.
Plus another x.
3.
And what's 1 and 1?
3.
So 3x plus 3 is 36. Minus 3, die. 3x is 33.
11.
Divide by 3, that's right. X is 11. Now, it says find the largest integer. Is the largest integer 11?
No.
No.
13.
11, right, 12, and then 13. So my final answer is
13.
13. Very good. Okay. So just by the way you're answering, I can tell we're getting better at this. We're starting to understand how to best go about setting these things up. All right, next one to do. All right, so one number is one less than twice another number. The sum of numbers is 11 on both numbers. Now, the thing that strikes me in this pattern, or this problem, just like the previous one, I noticed it said consecutive integers. This one says two numbers. When I see it talk about two numbers, Ava, head in the game. When I see it talk about two numbers, I immediately go over here and I write one number, other number. Now, what's the first number going to be? And the whole class said?
X.
X, and whatever you want it to be. We'll go with X because that's what I heard. Now, let's start underlining things. One number is one less than twice another. Sum, 11. Find both numbers. Okay, so, if one number is one, oh, there's that less than phrase.
Yeah.
One number is one less than twice another number. What would the other number be? One less than twice. How do I write that mathematically?
2x.
2x minus 1. Very good. What is the part that makes you know it's minus? Less than. What's the part that made you know it reverses order? Less than. No, that would be addition. The less than. Whenever you see more than and less than, what do you think? Waiting on the day when the last shall be first and first shall be last. Very good. Okay. The sum, what does sum tell me to do? Add. So let's take the first one. There it is. It's x. What's the second one? 2x minus 1. And the sum says to add them. So there's my first one plus the second one is what?
9.
What does it say? The sum of the numbers is?
11.
11. Is this a same side situation or an opposite side situation? Same side. What's 1x plus 2x? 3x minus 1 is 11. Add 1 to both sides. Die. 3x equals 12. Divide by 3. X is 4. Did I answer the question? No, it wants what? Both. So the first one's 4. What's the second one?
5.
5. Not 5. What does it say? 5 would be the last problem. Let's say consecutive integers. 7 it is. What's 2 times 4? 8 minus 1?
7.
7. And what's really cool, the one thing I love about word problems, what's 4 plus 7? 11. And what does it say the sum's supposed to be?
11.
11, so I know I got it right. Okay. Now, next word problem. What is the area of a rectangle whose length is 2 less than 3 times the width and whose perimeter is 60? As soon as it starts telling me about a rectangle, any shape, whatever shape they talk about, I always draw a picture. Because it's so much easier to see with a picture. You guys want to know something?
What?
I don't know if you think you have a hard time with math or if math comes easy to you. But you're at a very, very important age of your life. How many people here are 13? How many people here are 14? Now, do you know what happens to your brain? You know how your body develops?
Yes.
There are, I can't tell you how many kids I've coached in wrestling over the years. I've coached everything from 7th to 12th grade, but for now I'm going to focus on 7th through 9th grade. In 7th grade, kids come in, and boys, and their bodies are very immature. They haven't started to develop yet. Do you guys know what happens to a guy's body that makes it a lot stronger than a girl's? Because in elementary school, girls can kick boys' butts.
Oh, facts.
All right.
Facts.
Yeah, without a doubt. But as you get older, in 12th grade, you don't find many girls who can kick a guy's butt. Something happens between, say, 5th grade and 12th grade. Does anybody know what it is? It's testosterone. That's exactly what it is. The boy's body starts to produce this hormone called testosterone. And testosterone is a hormone that builds muscle. Okay? Now, before you start thinking you got the whole package, girls' bodies start to produce estrogen, and believe it or not, estrogen has incredible pain-killing abilities in it. So guys like to think of how tough they are. Women are much better equipped to bear pain. And if you think that you are tougher than a woman in terms of bearing pain,
You're not.
go pass a bowling ball. Because when a woman has a baby, all of her bones are growing apart.
That's nasty.
Yeah, it is, and it hurts a lot, as one who's had a lot of broken bones.
I'm supposed to learn
So,
science.
women are better able to bear pain because of estrogen. Men grow bigger muscles because of testosterone. And when you see these female bodybuilders, what they're doing is they're injecting testosterone into their body. And that's exactly what they're doing.
How do you know?
And that's how they're able to look like they have all of these extra muscles on them. That's what steroids are. Steroids are, even male bodybuilders, when they get extra big, they just shoot more testosterone in them.
How do you know they didn't work out?
They did work out, but you can't build what's not there, so they add the testosterone, then they work out. Now,
Because they look like they have
they look weird.
they're just like a man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Like their
now,
head is like way too small for their bodies.
anyway, so I don't want to get too distracted. The big thing is to understand this. Testosterone is a physical hormone that your body's changing, but your body is not just changing, so is your brain. Michael? There is this phase in your brain. Your brain goes through 4 big phases of development. There's pre-operational, there's concrete operational, which is what you're in now, there's abstract operational, and there's one other phase for like when you're a little kid, I forget the name of it.
Child.
But if you want to see something really, really cool, if you have like little nephews and nieces and little brothers and sisters, particularly like around the ages of 3, 4, 5, try this.
I have 3.
All right, go home
You told me.
and go get, I told you, it's the 2 tall glasses and the short fat
No,
glasses.
yeah, I
Do it to them. You fill the 2 tall, thin glasses up to the same exact point, and look at your little brother, sister, cousin, whatever, and say, which one has more? They will look right at you and say they have the same. Then right in front of them, don't hide it, don't deceive them. Take one of the tall, thin glasses, pour it in the short, fat glass, put the tall, thin glass back up, ask them which one has more. They'll go, oh, the tall one has more. They will say it right to your face, even though they just said they had the same amount. Then, take the short, fat one, pour it right back into the tall, thin one, and ask them which one has more. They'll go, they have the same.
What? Dumb.
Because it's not dumb. Their brain
I'll do it right-
is
I'll do it
incapable,
today.
listen, their brain is incapable of understanding that, normally speaking, whichever one is taller is bigger. Their brain is incapable of understanding that as the other glass gets wider, it compensates for the height. They just can't figure it out. Well, in algebra involves abstract reasoning. It means thinking without being able to see.
Shania Harris and Nigel Lewis to the main office, please.
early release?
What happens is with your brain goes through stages. Like there's a stage where you can't understand that the width compensates for the height, and then all of a sudden you understand it. Up until age 13, your brain is what they call concrete operational, which means if we put it in your hand, if you can touch it, if you can move it, if you can see it, you can get it. But you can't just abstractly think about it. Someone like Einstein was an abstract thinker. Now, algebra requires an ability to think abstractly. At 13 years old is when you begin to learn how to think abstractly. So here we are teaching you algebra, and if you can't see it, it's going to be very hard for you.
Okay.
So we need to make you see it. And one of the best things you can do to see it is to draw your rectangle. Put that rectangle up on the board. Now, as soon as that rectangle's up on the board, it says you gotta start labeling sides. The length is 2 less than 3 times the width. There I am, underlining like crazy. I don't know what the width is. In algebra, when you don't know what something is, you always give it a variable name. Since it's width, well, it's width, so I'm gonna call it W. But you could do X. You certainly wouldn't lose any points. Now, it says the length is 2 less than 3 times the width. So somebody give me an expression for 2 less than 3 times the width. Go ahead. 3W minus 2 in this problem, right? Good. Now, the cool thing about a rectangle is the opposite sides are exactly the same side. So if this is W, what's this?
W.
W. If this is 3W minus 2, what's this? Good. And then it's talking about, here's a key word here. Key word is perimeter. What does perimeter talk about? What does perimeter mean? Go ahead.
Add up all the sides.
Add up all the sides, good. And what should all the sides add up to?
Add up.
Well, it says here it adds up to what?
60.
60. So I'm going to take the first side, W. That's the left side. The top side is 3W minus 2. The right side is W. The bottom side is 3W minus 2. And when I add them all up, I have to get 60. Now, is this the same side situation or an opposite side? Same side?
Same option.
So let's get all my W's together. How many W's do I have there?
1.
No, come on. How many
I'm
W's?
counting.
8.
What?
Good.
Oh.
I have 8 W's. And then I have a minus 2 and a minus 2. What's that?
4.
Minus 4. Good. Is 60. Add 4 to both sides. Die. 8W is 64. Good. Divide by 8. W is 8. So I go over here now. And I say, okay, this guy's 8. Great. What's the other side?
8. 8.
No.
What?
I'm looking for the top.
24. W?
1 W.
No, wait, hold on. 8 times 3 is 16.
8 times 3 is what?
No, I'm counting.
24.
24 minus 2.
22.
22. Then it says, what's the area of that rectangle? How do I find the area, everybody?
Length times width.
Length times width. Nice. So I'm going to do 22 times 8, and that's 176.
170.
So that's the answer, right?
Yep, that is the answer. Okay. Now, think we got one more word problem here? Maybe not.
No, that's the last one.
That's the last one? Okay, so now, let's go back to these 4 questions here, and I will, hey, focus guys, bring it back in the moment, right? I'm going to turn around and just give you the answers to these guys real quick. I'll do them in my head, and if there's any you want to go over, we will. As a rule, we're very good at these, okay? Lenny, where we going, buddy? All right, ready? 5W, 8W, 4. 5 is the answer to the first one.
Yeah.
A is 5. B is 3.
Yes.
C is 4. D,
How do you do
there are no solutions to D.
Wait,
All right, this is why they pay me the big bucks.
How do you do the no solution?
How do you do no solutions? Let's talk about no solutions. Ready? I'm going to go up here. I'm just going to write it a little higher so you can see it better. Ready? Let's distribute the 5 and then distribute the 2. So I get 10x minus 4 equals 10x plus 6. Well, obviously I got to subtract 10x from both sides. Always want to take care of the x's first. Die, die. Negative 4, danger, 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 equals 6. Hey, wait a minute. Does negative 4 ever equal 6?
No.
No. Since it's never equal to 6, there will never be an answer. So there's no solution. What if instead it said 6 equals 6? Then there's infinite answers. That's right. Everything is an answer. Okay. All right. Any other questions on those? Okay. Now let's go to the first page, the very first question.
How do you do 13?
Hold on. First page, first questions. Let me give you the answers. On these, Lenny, elbow this way, turn, head in the game. On these, this is the work we did in the relearn packet. This is the work from the last test. And if you have been doing your work, by now, just about everybody is doing really well on these questions. Number 1, negative 100. Number 2, 1. Number 3, 16. So it's negative 100, 1, 16. Next up, 11 and 1/9. Number 5, 2n squared. You better not have n to the 4th there. 2n squared.
What? Oh,
Because when you're adding and subtracting, you add jackets to jackets, you get jackets. If you add awesome Central Asian Shepherd puppy dogs to awesome Central Asian Shepherd puppy dogs, what do you get?
Wait, what are they?
Awesome Central Asian Shepherd dogs.
What are
You don't
puppy
take the
dogs?
Central Asians and add them to Central Asians
How much is
and
something?
make elephants.
How much is something?
Just doesn't work like that. Don't worry about that. Next, number 6, d to the 20th. Number 7, careful here. Some of you guys are going to have 5x to the 8th, but it's 25x to the 8th.
Wait,
You have to square everything in the
we have it
package.
differently.
You don't have that?
No, it's 8x 7
The whole thing is different.
Oh, the whole thing's different?
No, this is review. We're doing this is the review
No, we're
from
doing
Friday.
2B. 2B.
Yeah.
We did 2D, that was
We
from
did
Friday.
this already.
No, this
Yeah, we're going over the
Exactly.
one from Friday.
Yeah, David.
Oh,
We're not going over today's, this is Friday's.
oh, then we remember
Yeah.
something.
So, once again, that doesn't look good.
And next.
Right? I know what that means, don't you go there.
Yeah, Mandy, watch your potty mouth.
That's right, that's a really major potty mouth, that's a Spanish major potty
I
mouth.
don't care that you broke your elbow.
Now, ready? When you see square, hey, seriously, focus back. Ava, turn. When you see this squared outside parentheses, you need to square everything in the parentheses, including the 5 and the x to the 4th. So, a lot of kids will get this right. Kids who get it wrong, almost all of them will write x to the 8th. But some people will put 5x to the 8th, and that's a mistake, because the 5 also has to be squared. It's 25x to the 8th. Number 8 we do really well on, 21 n to the 7th, n to the 3rd, remember? There's really a little 1 here on the m, right, bless you. And this is a divided by for number 9, it doesn't appear here, but it should be 4x to the 4th. Okay, any questions on numbers 1 through 9? 7, well, we just said, we just went through this.
I know, but.
Ready? I have to square everything in the parentheses. So if I do the 5 squared, I get 25. And if I do the power to the power, I get x to the 8. Okay? Do not forget to do the 5 also. That's the mistake that kids make.
Okay, then.
And then 10 through 12, we'll go over those answers. Okay. Ready? Alex, knees on the desk. Turn. Very good. Come on, keep, there we go. Okay, so, number 10, the distance is this many nanometers. I noticed right away, very, very, muy importante. I noticed right away that it says an exponent of -5. That means 0 point. And I have to go a total of 5 places. One of them is the 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 7, 1. Okay, next one. Product means what? Go ahead again. Product? Multiply. 7 times 4, 28 times 10 to the 8th. Uh-oh. Spaghetti-o. What's the problem here?
2.8.
2.8. I got to divide by 10 to make 2.8. Scientific
10 to the
notation here.
9.
Times 10 to the 1. So I get 2.8 times 10 to the 9th.
Yeah.
Good. Ha, negative exponent. Reciprocal. 1 over 3 squared, which is 1/9. Okay, any questions? Okay,
What's the homework?
well, it's the now work. The now work is the pretest you grabbed when you walked in the door. I want you to work on it for the rest of the period. And particularly work on the kinds of questions that gave you difficulty. Get started on them now. You got about 5 minutes left.
So on the ones that gave me difficulty, okay. So pretty much everything.
Do you really want to waste your time now? So if you're leaning over to the person next to you and you're talking to them about how to get a question right, it's a really good thing. If anything else that you're talking about is a really bad thing. So get yourself focused.